Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. We are from group 3 and our topic is about Marxism. This is our group members. As you can see, my name is Danish Witra bin Romaira, and the second members is Muhammad Haziq bin Warabu, and the third member is Muhammad Hari Ikmal bin Rosli, and the fourth member is Ahmad Nasri Iskandar bin Ahmad Nizam, and the last one is Danish Rizwan bin Azrin. Now I will start introduction about Marxism and its view on capitalism, society inequality and workers in modern society. This theory was developed by Karl Marx, who believed that capitalism creates inequality between the rich and the poor. In this presentation, our group will explain some important ideas of Marxism and its impact on society and international relations.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Wan Muhammad Haziq. So, I will give a brief overview of Karl Marx and Marxism. Karl Marx was a German philosopher, economist, sociologist, and revolutionary. He is well known as the co-author of the Communist Manifesto and also has wrote Das Kapital. Marx is often called the father of modern socialism because his ideas greatly influenced global politics and society. One of his main contributions was developing the theory of Marxism. Marx strongly criticized capitalism because he believed it creates social inequality between the rich and the poor. He also introduced the idea of class struggle, which referred to the conflict between the working class and capitalist class. In addition, Marx's idea inspired many socialist and communist movements around the world and had a major impact on international politics during the 20th century. Thank you.
Now, I will talk about the history of Marxism. So, Marxism was developed in the 19th century by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Their ideas focus on class struggle and social inequality during the Industrial Revolution, when many workers face poor working conditions and low wages. Okay, so now Marxism explains society through the conflict between the two main social classes, the bourgeoisie, who own businesses and industries, and the proletariat, which is who work for the wages. Marx believed that capitalism benefits the wealthy class while exploiting workers. Another important idea in Marxism is imperialism. Marxists argue that powerful countries often dominate weaker nations economically and politically in order to gain resources, labor, and profit. This contributes to global inequality. So, over time, Marxism influenced many political movements and government around the world. It also inspired modern theories such as neo-Marxism and dependency theory, which study globalization, economic inequality, and power relations in society today. Overall, Marxism became one of the most influential political and economic theories in modern history because it focuses on inequality, social conflict, and the effect of the capitalism.
So next is the class divide. In Karl Marx theory, he also said about the class divide in the capitalism. So the class divide is referred to the separation of social classes. There are two major classes, which is the bourgeoisie and proletariat. So bourgeoisie, or the capitalist, is an owner of a factory and a business. They manage or control the production and also earn the profit. They are usually the minority in the social group. The second classes is proletariat, or the working class. They are usually the workers. They exchange labor and skill with wages. They are also the minority in the social group. Marx argued that the division creates inequality and conflict because most of the time the capitalists benefit from the worker. Even though the products made by the worker is good, the profit will still goes to the owner. So there are several problems regarding capitalism. So the first one is modern work is alienated. So alienated refer to a feeling being separated from some things. During capitalism, workers often feel detached or disconnected from their daily life. It is mainly caused by the capitalist system where profit is prioritized over human well-being. This is also happened because the workers do not own the product they create, as they just focus on working and exchange their labor and skills with salaries. Due to this, the worker is powerless and may struggle with low wages while the owner gains more profit.
So we move to strengths of Marxism. So one of the main strengths of Marxism is focus on global inequality. Then this theory explains why some countries become very rich while others remain poor and underdeveloped. Marxism argues that wealthy countries continue to gain profits by exploiting weaker nations through unfair trade, cheap labor and natural resources. For example, developing countries often export raw material at low prices, while developed countries process them into expensive products and gain higher profits. Therefore, Marxism helps society understand the causes of economic inequality and global injustice. Next point, another strength of Marxism is that it views the world as one of interconnected global system. The theory explains that politics, economy, and international relations are closely connected and cannot be separate. For example, when a major economic crisis happens in a powerful country such as the United States, many countries around the world are also affected through inflation, like unemployment and rising prices. This shows that global issues do not only affect one country but the entire international system. Therefore, Marxism provides a broader understanding of how the world operates. Last one, Marxism also gives critical perspective on power and domination. It questions the influence of powerful countries, multinational cooperation, and international financial institutions such as the IMF and World Bank. So, according to Marxism, this institution may sometimes benefit powerful nations more than weaker countries. For example, poor countries that borrow money may be forced to follow economic conditions that burden their people. Therefore, Marxism creates awareness about how economic power can be used to control, influence other nations. So we move to weaknesses of Marxism. So the first one is that we can see one major weakness of Marxism is that it focuses too much on economic factors. The theory often assumes that almost all international issues are caused by capitalism, wealth, and economic interests. However, in reality, many conflicts are also influenced by culture, emotion, history issue, and political ideology. Therefore, Marxism may oversimplify complex international problems. Then another weakness is that Marxism pays less attention to nationalism, religion, ethnicity, and culture identity. In reality, many international conflicts happen because of religious difference or ethnic tension rather than economic reasons. For example, some civil wars, regional conflicts are strongly connected to identity and belief system. Therefore, Marxism cannot fully explain conflicts caused by culture and religious factors. The last one is Marxism also struggles to explain why some socialist or communist country behave like traditional power-seeking state. Although Marxism promotes equality and anti-capitalism, some communist countries also compete for military power, political influence, and territorial control. For example, that we can see the Soviet Union was involved in global power competition during the Cold War. So this creates a contradiction between Marxism ideas and real world political behavior.
Now, I will explain why capitalism is considered unstable in Marxism. According to the ideas of Karl Marx, capitalism creates instability because it is based on conflict between social classes. In a capitalist system, society is divided mainly into two groups: the bourgeoisie, who owns businesses and factories, and the proletariat, who sell their labor for wages. Marx believed that the owners try to maximize profit, often by paying workers as little as possible. This creates tension and dissatisfaction among workers. Another reason capitalism is seen as unstable is the exploitation of labor. Workers may feel unfairly treated because they produce goods and services but receive only a small part of the profit. This can lead to protests, strike, and social unrest. Marxism also argues that capitalism experiences overproduction crisis. Businesses produce more goods than people can afford to buy, causing products to remain unsold. As a result, companies may lose money, cut jobs, or create economic recessions. This cycle of boom and bust make the system unstable over time. In addition, capitalism increases wealth inequality. The rich become richer while many workers continue struggling financially. This widening gap can create political pressure and social conflict within the society. Overall, Marx believed that these internal contradictions would eventually weaken capitalism and would lead to major social and economic change. Alright, thank you for listening.
Now I will talk about richer get richer, poor stay poor. Karl Marx believed that capitalism naturally increases inequality between social class. In capitalist system, the bourgeoisie or capitalist class own business, factory, land, and financial resources, while the proletariat or working class only sell their labor in exchange for wage. Although workers produce goods and services that generate wealth, most of the profit are controlled by the capitalists. Marx argued that workers are often paid less than actual value. They are great, allowing business owners to accumulate more wealth and power over time. As capitalism developers or large companies and corporations continue expanding their profit, while many workers struggle with low wage, rising living costs, debt, and limited opportunities to improve their life. This situation creates a widening gap between the rich and the poor, where the wealth becomes concentrated among a small group or elite. Marx believed that capitalism prioritizes profit over social welfare, causing economic inequality to continually grow. For example, like multinational corporations earn a massive profit from a global production, while workers in developing countries often receive a very low wage despite producing products sold at high rates worldwide. Now I will talk about modern work is insecure. According to Marxism, capitalism focuses mainly on maximizing profit and reducing production costs, causing workers to be treated as replaceable rather than valuable individuals. In modern capitalism economy, many jobs have become unstable and insecure, forcing workers to face uncertainty in their daily life. Many workers experience temporary employment, contract-based job, unstable income, low job security, and long working hours without guaranteeing long-term protection. Marx argued that companies may dismiss workers, reduce wage, or cut benefit whenever it helps increase profit. Modern technology, automation, outsourcing, and economic crisis also contribute to job insecurity because companies can replace workers with machine or more production to countries with cheaper labor costs. As a result, workers constantly face economic pressure and fear of unemployment. This, this issue is clearly visible in today's gig economy, where deliver, delivery riders, freelancers, and ride-hailing drivers often work without healthcare benefit, retirement security, paid leave, or stable monthly income. In internationally relation, multinational corporations often move factories to developing countries with cheaper labor and weaker workers' protection, increasing company profit while workers continue facing exploitation and poor working conditions.
For this part, I would like to explain two impacts of Marxism theory on international relations, which are imperialism and class struggle. First, imperialism. Marxists believe that powerful countries expand their influence over weaker countries for economic benefit, such as resources, cheap labor, and bigger markets. During colonial times, many strong countries controlled weaker nations to gain profits and strengthen their economies. Vladimir Lenin described imperialism as the highest stage of capitalism because capitalist countries compete globally for wealth and dominance. Second is class struggle. Marxism focuses on the conflict between the working class and the capitalist class. Marxists argue that rich groups control wealth and production, while workers receive fewer benefits. This inequality also exists globally between rich and poor countries. Therefore, Marxism believes that economic inequality strongly influences international relations and global conflict. So to conclude this, Marxism helps us understand how capitalism and inequality shape global politics and international relations. Thank you.
So for the last one, in conclusion, Marxism is an important theory in international relations because it helps us to understand global inequality, economic exploitation, and the influence of capitalism in world politics. So this theory explains how powerful countries and multinational cooperation can dominate weaker nations through trade, economic control, and natural resources. It also shows that many international conflicts are often connected to economic interests. However, Marxism also has several weaknesses that because it focuses too much on economic factors and gives less attention to nationalism, religion and culture, and international cooperation. Despite these weaknesses, Marxism is still relevant today in explaining modern global issues such as poverty, wealth inequality, worker exploitation, and the growing influence of multinational cooperation. Overall, Marxism gives us a critical perspective and encourages us to think more deeply about fairness, power, and justice in the internal system. That's all from us. Thank you for watching.